Hi, I'm Jude from headfi.org. I recently attended the spring 2013 New York HeadFi meet, and while I was there, I got to see a bunch of old friends from the community, and one of them was Mike Dias from Ultimate Ears. Mike and I go way back, and Mike had this idea. He said, Jude, with HeadFi TV, you're always interviewing other people, asking them questions. Why don't we turn the camera around, point it at you, and ask you questions instead? And his idea was that his lovely wife, Paola Dias, would interview me about the origins of HeadFi and pretty much all things HeadFi. And I reluctantly agreed, and that's what this video is. It's that interview. But Mike had this even better idea, the idea to go around the New York HeadFi meet with a camera, a video camera, and a microphone, and ask some of the members there, what does HeadFi, what does the community mean to you? And when we reviewed the footage that he recorded, we were actually really touched by the responses, people telling us what the community means to them. That was absolutely fantastic. So we included that footage in this video as well. So check out the interview with me by Paola Dias, but even more importantly, check out the footage that Mike recorded of the community members saying what HeadFi means to them.
Hi, I'm Paola Dias, and I've been in the audio world for some time now. I've worked for Dolby Labs and Meyer Sound, and my husband is Michael Dias. He works for Ultimate Ears. He writes for Ultimate Ears. I'm here with Jude Mansilla, founder of HeadFi. And usually he does all the interviews and asks all the questions. So this time I thought we'd catch up with him and ask him all the questions. So tell me, Jude, how did HeadFi start?
It started in 2001. It was actually an offshoot forum of another older headphone forum that's really no longer around anymore called Headwise. And I was a member of Headwise. I was a frequent poster on Headwise, just a member like anybody else. And what happened was the site just kept breaking down Headwise. Okay. And it kept crashing, and by the time 2001 came along, I think I'd been a member there since around 1999, if I recall correctly. Then around 2001, when it started crashing so much and the outages so long, several of us started alternate websites, just kind of places to go when Headwise was down. And I started, I think, a Yahoo group. Several people started cool boards, and there was like 5 or 6 different places maybe. Mm-hmm. And they all felt so temporary that the community didn't really gravitate to any one of them. So finally I just said, let's just do one that feels more like a true alternate place, a real home.
Right.
And so we created HeadFi, and that's how it started. And when we first started it, a lot of the Headwise members, even I was kind of uncomfortable with the idea of starting HeadFi, and even talked to the owner of Headwise about it, and we kind of talked it through very friendly. But the idea was to try to get Headwise back up, but it just didn't happen. Just to make a long story short, HeadFi stayed, the community gravitated toward it, and it grew from there. That's really how it started, to make a long story short.
So that's how it started. How about why? Why did it start?
I mean, I think it's for the same reason anybody starts any other enthusiast website or blog. And I think the more sometimes specific a topic is, or the more, like cars, a very broad topic, photography, also a pretty broad topic, a lot of people interested in it, but high-end headphone audio in 2001, not too many people. And so the why, or why we created it is to give us a place to talk about this rather unusual interest, this very niche interest, mm-hmm. with other people. Because really, without the web, there would be no way to have done it. And that's really the why. And plus, when you're passionate about something, if you want to call this a hobby, any hobby, be it photography or, in this case, high-end headphone audio, for some reason, we just have this need to talk about it with each other. And I think that's why. We just need a place to talk about this, share ideas, reviews, and things like that. And that's the why. There's definitely a social drive.
All right, HeadFi, what HeadFi means to me. New friends all around the world. Great hobby, great company, great people. This is an unbelievable hobby. Can't ask for a better one, to meet all new people. Not only the experience of headphones, but the whole community experience.
So what the community means to me, I just joined back in January, and the first thing that struck me is I wanted to find a good set of portable headphones, and the feedback I got and the reviews that I found on HeadFi really helped a lot. And I ended up finding some reviewers on there that had a similar taste on stuff that I already had, and ended up following their leads and then testing them at stores. And it really helped a lot in finding a good set of portable headphones. And now at the meet, what it's turned out to be is I met a really bunch of fun guys, and I'm finding new sources for music and new types of music to listen to. So it's helped me that way too. So it's only been a couple of months or so, but that's what it's already meant to me.
So what does Head-Fi mean to me? Well, without Head-Fi, there would be no Moon Audio, because 95% of our sales are Head-Fi related gear, headphones, cables, and if it wasn't for Jude a long time ago asking me to make a headphone cable for his Sennheisers, we wouldn't have headphone cables. So without you guys, there would be no Moon Audio. So thanks to Jude, and thanks to all you Head-Fi guys for keeping us in business. We love you.
So it's not just a presence online, it's not just a website, but you actually meet, you meet in person, and you have these meets, and that's a real social aspect to the site that I find really unique and fascinating.
Yeah. Actually, you and I were talking earlier, and you mentioned, like, it's so cool because we're actually here for a meet.
Right.
We're here for the spring 2013 New York meet, and Mike, her husband, is working the meet. He's with Ultimate Ears. So earlier you were mentioning to me it's so cool because headphones are so it's a very private experience. And, we're listening to music, which is usually, as you mentioned, you said I'm Peruvian, music is such a social thing for us, dancing and,
it's
and
very
parties.
social and dancing and to get with other people.
But you guys listen to headphones.
It's a shared experience.
Right.
Yet you have this very private experience with headphones. However, you still get a social aspect from this. I mean, you still meet. You have these meets that happen all the time, all over the world. And you congregate and you share these ideas. So you're still fulfilling that social need.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was an interesting point because we were having a conversation earlier about this, and I thought that was very interesting when you mentioned that. And maybe that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, is obviously we're here talking about gear, the whole objective being with regard to the gear to get us closer to music, closer to the music. And, I guess, with headphones it is a very private experience, and maybe this is our way of making music social for us. Even though we're listening primarily through headphones, because we get together. And that's probably also my favorite thing about this hobby is that social aspect. The fact that we're here getting together, that's probably my single favorite thing about it.
And there's a loyal following that you guys meet regularly. And and then you just, you build these friendships and they're tight.
Actually, it's your husband and I, for example, met at a meet.
Right, years and years ago.
2006, the first, the New York guys, the New York team set up our first national or international meet in 2006. And I met your husband, Mike, on the street. He literally stopped me randomly. He said, "Are you from the Head-Fi meet?" And we just started talking, and we've been friends ever since. He's been in my home, stayed at my home, essentially lived there for a brief period, a very brief period. But no, and we're friends, and we keep in touch, and our families keep in touch. And that is just one example of what happens in this community. We get together, and this New York crew is a really tight crew. These guys are friends, and a lot of them be friends for life. I'm kind of I'm not from New York, but I feel like they've accepted me, and I feel like a lot of my friends, I made a lot of friends here too. In the community on Head-Fi, these get-togethers are so important, this socializing for us. And I think it's actually made easier because of what we're talking about. This gear is portable.
Right.
I think if you're talking about, loudspeakers, it's a little harder to carry these systems to get together. So I think, so that is a very important part, is the friendships, and they're real. I mean, I have made friends I will have for life. I have had friends that I've met in this community. I mean, I've literally traveled the world with. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, this is true for a lot of these guys. And we were talking about that. I went to dinner with a lot of the New York guys tonight, and they were actually telling me about that. Larry goes by Wavo Man, Carrie. They were telling me about how they've become good friends just through this community, and how they actually made friends with another Head-Fi community member from Australia, and they now get together in New York on some regular basis. And I just think it's amazing. And that's, again, these are just very specific examples of things that are happening with a lot of people all over the world. It's very, very cool.
Hi, my name is Denny Fitzpatrick. I go by the handle The Monkey on HeadFi. Here to talk to you a little bit about what you can find at HeadFi and why it's useful to you as a new user. HeadFi is probably the premier clearinghouse for information about portable gear and in particular headphones. It is your first stop on the internet if you're interested in a great pair of headphones for a little bit of money or for a lot of money. That's where you're going to find your starting point, and down the rabbit hole you go into what is a terrific hobby. You will meet very helpful people. You'll experience great sound and with a low cost barrier to entry. The sky's the limit, of course, but you will have a musically satisfying experience based on the recommendations there. A great supportive community and really just a wonderful group of people. Great site, wonderful job by Jude, and it has spawned really an industry that is now at a really exciting time for portable audio. Go to headfi.com. It's your first stop for headphone-related items.
The Q means learning a lot about good headphones, figuring out different reviews, being able to learn about headphones before I, pop to buy it, and a great community to, interact. There's a thread for basically everything. So if you're into it, there's a thread for it. And they're just everyone's really nice over there at HeadFi. It's a great community.
Hi, I'm Ethan Yikes on HeadFi, and the community has primarily meant new friends. I've been a member for 10 years plus probably, and I have at least half a dozen people who I call friend now that I didn't before, and it's a good place to hang out. That's what HeadFi means.
So that's the social aspect of the site. Let's get back to the actual site, because that's the real pulse of the community. I mean, that's where most of the community members
where most
spend,
of the communication happens, right?
All their time, or a majority of the time. So tell me a little bit about that. What's it like to be in charge of a forum that has 1.5 million visitors a month?
Yeah, it's so that's the funny thing is, you can't really be in charge of it because the community is they drive the whole thing.
Right. So yeah,
it's a collective. Okay. It's a collective thing, and we do have moderators. We do have a moderating team, and they've been immensely helpful since 2001 when we started the site. I don't think it could be what it is without the moderating team, and but it definitely couldn't be what it is without the community. And so we're in charge of ourselves.
Right, it's a self-organizing site then.
And I don't mean to bring, I know you were talking about the site, but just to bring the meets back into it, all these meets are independently organized. I mean, we do there's one that we organize through HeadFi a year. Each year we do something called Can Jam. They used to be in cities all over the country, each year a different city. And they were also independently organized, but now we are doing, as of now, we're doing a yearly thing with Rocky Mountain Audio Fest called Can Jam at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest. But anyways, so these are independent. The meets are independently organized, and that's just an example of also what happens on the site. Is the users write their reviews and their content, and they actually police each other. Like if someone's, if spammers come on board, they're identified immediately for the moderating team to deal with.
So if somebody buys some really, bad gear,
that kind of policing.
Will there be people that say, "Uh-oh, this is bad"? Bad news. I mean,
and so there's always room for disagreement, but right. On almost any piece of gear, any topic. But there are probably some classes of gear, and I'm not going to mention any specific brands or anything, but there are some classes of gear that I think are generally or almost universally with HeadFiers considered not worth it. And so so sometimes a member will come in, a new member, and they'll have only exposure to certain mass market brands, thinking that maybe they've just spent the money and got the best performance they can get for the money. And I'll say it, the community members are pretty quick.
Right, but there's real education happening there.
Oh yeah,
real education there.
It's the education part. It's actually an interesting thing that you're bringing that up, because it really is. Then the community educates each other.
Right.
All the members of the community through their reviews. The DIYers have been an important part of this community since the very beginning. They educate each other through literally they will innovate designs of their own. circuit
That's
designs.
really fascinating.
Yeah, and some of the coolest gear has come out of the DIY community. So yeah, the community really educates each other because we don't really have any, although that's starting to change a little bit, we don't really have magazines, you know, in cars, Car and Driver, you can read Car and Driver for reviews and things like that. And even in the wider stereo world, you know, we had Stereophile, The Absolute Sound, Stereo Review way back in the day, Audio Magazine. And so the reviews were really done by professional reviewers, but here in the community now, really for a long time, no professional reviewers were covering what we like, this very specific type of gear. And so the community had to be its own writer, you know, its own body of writers. And whereas my favorite audio writers, for example, had been in the past, John Atkinson at Stereophile, still is one of my favorites, the late J. Gordon Holt at Stereophile, Harry Pearson at The Absolute Sound, or even going way back to Julian Hirsch at Stereo Review, and a whole bunch of other professional writers. I still love these guys and I love reading them, but I'll say it, my very favorite review writers today, because my interest is so specific to high-end headphone audio, my favorite writers are the community members.
Right.
I mean, some of these guys are writing just ridiculously unbelievable reviews, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, just unbelievable reviews. David Mahler, his real name is David Solomon. David Mahler is his nickname. Wrote what had to have been one of the most definitive pieces, for example, last year on the 50 top flagship headphones, because this guy owns pretty much every flagship headphone ever built. From the Sennheiser Orpheus, Stax SR009, and you just Sony MDR R10. You probably don't know all these, but and he wrote this just unbelievable piece that's a defining collective review that took him months to complete. He literally,
wow,
yeah,
that's passion. Like
that's
that's
passion.
Really passionate.
That's
and
one of the
sharing that with the community. That's
oh my gosh.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's like a gem, you know, to have that.
Yeah,
that people can refer back to.
Yeah, and they do. They refer back to
yeah.
his review a lot, and it's one of the most unbelievable examples to me of like of just a focus on community created content of the most passionate, intense kind. I mean, really, you just have to see his review. I'll show it to you later, and Mike, because Mike might have seen it already. But it is just a remarkable piece, and that's one of the more, or maybe the single most extreme example of just this intense, concentrated, passionate review. But there are a lot of reviews. You know, we do our own gift guide, we do videos, and the users now create a lot of their own videos that they'll embed on the site. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, what do you like to see on the site? What are your favorite things that you like to see pop up that you're like, oh man, this is awesome?
Okay, so my single favorite are definitely the meets.
Okay.
But now just the friendships again that we build through the meets is my single favorite thing. But on the site, it's the reviews and just even some of the banter back and forth, just because it reinforces the friendships that we build. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, even for the people who've never met, I feel like a lot of them maybe one day will meet. And so just even the banter that they have that sometimes doesn't have anything to do with audio, some of that is always fun to read. But the reviews and just the education, the reviews, the sharing of knowledge or opinions is always going to be, I think, my favorite thing as far as content on the site to see.
So how do you see that evolving in the future? Do you see the site sort of shifting gears, or how do you see that evolving in the future for HeadFi? Or do you see that evolving at all? Or how do you can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, actually, so Mike, your husband with Ultimate Ears, is an example of a company that's actually quite close to the community. So Mike is he works for a manufacturer with Ultimate Ears, but he also is a true member of the community. And I've seen an increased, this heightened desire of these companies to have a greater interaction with the community members. And so we've done things like focus groups. Some of them were private focus groups, just so they could kind of get an idea of what the community's opinion might be of a product before it's even released. And we've seen actually that have effects on the products.
Wow. So this community can have make a real difference in the way that a product.
They do, yeah. They definitely do make a difference, and I don't think there's a company that serves, or at least I can't think of too many companies that serve this very specific high-end headphone audio niche that will tell you that this community doesn't influence it. Somehow the community members definitely influence the products that they end up using.
Wow.
And the new stuff that ends up coming out. It's a very influential community with respect to the products that they specifically like, if that makes any sense. They really help shape what comes down the pike. And that is a really powerful, cool thing. So that's a really neat aspect of the community too, is that we help shape what products we have. I actually want to go back. You asked me about starting in 2001. I mean, there was really only 2 real prominent headphone amp manufacturers. There were a lot of headphone amp manufacturers, but in the high-end headphone community, there was really only a couple of manufacturers, and now there are countless. And the community drives that. So, they as a community, they're also an audience, a marketplace, and without them, we wouldn't have these products. They're because some of these products are rather daring. Because only people.
Right, it's such a small subset.
Yeah.
Yet it's so influential, and they're driving the way that the products are made. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so the members of the community have become very influential. And so you asked about the evolution. I think they're going to continue to have a stronger voice in the products that they're interested in. And as more and more people then start getting into high-end headphone audio, which is happening.
Do you find that is true internationally?
Oh yeah, and Head-Fi. I mean, there's a huge Chinese headphone forum called Ergi.net. The Tokyo headphone audio community is insanely vibrant.
That must be massive.
Oh my gosh, and the headphone culture there is just out. It's remarkable, actually. So it is definitely an international thing. And Ergi, I'm very well aware of them. I mean, we are very well aware of them because we have a lot of Chinese members. And they're also very aware of what goes on at Head-Fi. We pay attention, I think, to each other's communities. When I went to Tokyo, I was just flattered and thrilled to find that a lot of people in Japan were also aware of what's happening on headfi.org. So, yeah, it's a very international thing.
Hi, my name is Ari. I'm Nikon God on the forums. Head-Fi is... It's just a place for me to hang out. It's a great place for DIY. I kind of missed that Head-Fi's kind of transitioned away from DIY and into a little bit more commercial stuff. It's always nice to have some place to float your ideas, to show something to someone and say, maybe, if you don't know how something's going to work, how is this going to work? You ask somebody else and they have an idea about it. Head-Fi's always been very valuable for that. So I really like Head-Fi for that. And it's a fun place to hang out.
Yeah, basically I've been involved with 5 years with Jude's site. I think it's phenomenal. It's a tremendous community where I've met a lot of different people. I've been able to do a lot of different reviews on the website. And it's really just a terrific place. I mean, I can't think of a better website on the internet than what Jude's done with that site. And it's also really opened up people's eyes to where I think the future of high-end audio is going to be. So I think it's tremendous.
So underneath all of it, the gear, the interchange of knowledge, there really is this passion for music, because music is the reason. Listening to music, being this approach to the purity of music, listening to it in a way that, wow, you get an amazing sound that is just amazing. That's just the experience. So underneath it all is the music and the passion for listening to music. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, again, like you said, we're through the gear. We are trying to get closer to the music.
Right.
And now there are, in any gear type, gear-driven forum or website, you're going to get some guys that are really more just about the gear. They just kind of dig the gear, and we all do to some degree. But the one thing I found with the diehard head-fires, the guys that are just real hardcore about the hobby, the community, the hardcore ones, man, they're always really, really heavily into the music. And so we love to talk about the gear and we talk about it passionately, but one of the other things that they want to talk about passionately is they want to share, did you hear this? Have you tried, have you listened to this band? And we'll share music recommendations, and you'll see a lot of passion in that discussion as well. And you'll see this at meets, going back to the meets. Somebody will say, oh, listen to this. the system, and they'll maybe have music that they like playing through it. So the guy will listen to it and go, what is this, right? And so you'll see that. And so yeah, it does come back to the music, and that's really what we're trying to do with the gear. And so yeah, some people are maybe in it more for the gear than anything else, but I think the hardcore Head-Fi members and the community members are genuinely passionate music fans, and that's a huge part of why we're here. Yeah.
So with the music, I was wondering, are there people that make these song lists for particular gear? Like, are there some really, fans of just, you should listen to these bands on this type of gear? Does that ever?
Well, we do talk a lot about music, and I think as big as the community is, the tastes are so varied. So some people are going to listen to more classical and jazz. And then, of course, dance music is becoming immensely popular.
Do you feel like there's a more popular type of genre that
if
the
there's one,
Head-Fiers are listening
well,
to?
if there's one, we have a young audience. So if there's one I think that's fastest growing, dance music is probably the fastest growing.
Wow. Which is funny because you're listening to them on headphones.
Yeah.
So.
But I think a lot of people like to chill out or
right.
just kind of like get pumped up privately even with dance music. But no, still, I mean, there isn't really any one genre that I think you can recommend or listen to. Ultimately, it's going to come down to what people like. The one thing I have found, though, through audio, and it was true for me, is as I got involved in audio, my musical tastes, as I interacted with a lot more people, just absolutely blew up. I mean, I was not, there's a local member named Thread, that's his nickname, his name's Adam. He got me into dance music along with Val from V Moda, Alex Rawson from Odyssey, and these guys kind of got me into dance music, which I never really thought. I mean, I used to listen to a lot of dance music when I was younger, and I didn't think I'd ever go back to it, and here I am finding myself really listening to it a lot again, and these guys kind of drove me to it. So yeah, I don't think there's any one kind of music or even a few types. I think we pretty much as a whole, as a community, listen to just about everything. And it's possible though, and I think it's absolutely true that depending on the kinds of music you listen to, maybe you'll gravitate toward a certain sound signature. So I don't think there's any one common sound signature that for anybody, and I think it's just all about preferences and everything else, and that's true with the music. But yeah, we do share. But again, we do share a lot of music recommendations.
It's a great platform for some new music discovery too. Actually, I've gone on there and I've seen some really neat and diverse music.
Oh yeah, actually, and Mike's written some great pieces. Yeah, because he does the Artist to Watch feature for Ultimate Ears. So Mike has actually kind of been, and I think the community has also been, they open my eyes, and I think they open each other's eyes to not just new gear, but also new music.
Right.
So but again, there's not any one kind. Even if you look at the Artist to Watch series on UE's website, on Ultimate Ears' website, it covers just about everything. And that's kind of how it is on Head-Fi. We listen to just about everything. I mean, I listen to bluegrass, dance music, classical, jazz. I love movie scores, and I think that's true for not just me, but a lot of Head-Fiers. But one thing that we will share a lot of is when we find a recording that just sounds insane, that might sound extra realistic live. I mean, if you go on Head-Fi and say, oh my God, this recording is unbelievable, it's so, three-dimensional, and you can feel the instruments, you almost feel like you can reach out and grab them, that will probably get people to listen to it, even if they're like, well, I don't normally listen to, maybe it's a jazz album, but now I'll try. So again, that is how we, I think, expand each other's musical horizons. But yeah, if something's recorded really well, you can probably convince a lot of people to try it on Head-Fi just on that alone.
So what does the community mean to me? The community means a sense of camaraderie, exchanging of ideas, so we can basically get to that audio nirvana, I guess, is kind of what I'm looking for, where we can achieve the sound that we're looking for. And everybody has their own sound, has what they like, don't like. And the community as a whole is a way to, or is like a vehicle to getting there. And to me, that's what the Head-Fi community means to me.
Hi, my name is Ken. My handle is KenMan345. The community means to me a lot of things. It means basically talking to people that have the same interests and enjoying yourself and just having a nice discussion about music theory, what sounds good, what you like. Everyone has a different preference. No one's really wrong, but everyone's going to have a good time. That's why I come to meets. That's why I participate on the forums. That's why I love HeadFi.
So Jude, thank you so much for answering all my questions. I thought I had a pretty good idea from going to the meets and, hearing so much from my husband and just being on the site. But I really just feel like I have a really good understanding of the community and the site and can share a little bit of that passion. Actually, I think it's just fascinating. And I want to thank you for talking with me, and
thank you, Paola.
It's been really great. So if anybody has any more questions, please.
Yeah, they can contact me. And I think most headfires know where to get a hold of me.
Right.
I don't remember I think it's tv@headfi.org if they want to ask me any specific questions. We do get questions there a lot. So tv@headfi.org if they have any specific questions about anything we talked about. But no, thank you.
Thank you.